In 1837, Samuel Morse invented the modern telegraph. The telegraph used an encrypted language known as the American Morse code to transmit hidden messages. Roughly 2 decades later, for the first time in the history of the United States of America, real-time communication and battle arose through the telegraph in the Civil War. The construction of the military telegraph wires was very rapid, and sometimes 8 to 12 miles of wire were planted in a single day. The first transcontinental telegraph line was completed in 1861, which was the initial year of the Civil War. Over the course of the war, the United States Military Telegraph Service sent about 6.5 million messages. The service also built about 15,000 miles of telegraph line around the nation, which cost approximately $2.65 million. In 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Pacific Railway Act into effect. The act proposed to build a telegraph cable from the Missouri River to the Pacific Ocean. This telegraph wire was funded by the government, meaning that the Union controlled it throughout the Civil War.
The Union's incorporation of the telegraph into its Civil War strategies indubitably played a role in its victory over the Confederacy. Not only did the extensive telegraph networks in the North allow Union leaders to quickly and efficiently disseminate information amongst their armies, but because telegraphs were a direct source of information for newspapers, the Union-dominated telegraphs influenced the newspapers and media towards the Union side. By 1862, Lincoln had established control over the nation's telegraph system. As a result, he could communicate to his generals and make adaptations to his battle strategies in a seemingly effortless manner. In comparison to the Confederacy, the Union had 15 times as many miles of cabling for telegraph lines. This means that Lincoln had an outreach roughly 15 times the size of the Confederacy. Clearly, he had a large advantage in terms of communication. In addition, Lincoln often used spies to stay one step ahead of the Confederacy. In order to keep in touch with these spies in an efficient manner, Lincoln used telegraphs to hear about their latest findings and what he should do to gain an advantage over the South.
To the irritation of his generals, it even allows him to issue his own direct orders, telling them how to fight. In one campaign, with General Lee's forces threatening Washington, Lincoln responds by telegraphing direct orders to his generals. But the South never grasped the potential of the telegraph in creating a centralized command and control system. It means Southern generals like Lee must plan their battles without that kind of strategic overview.
In fact, even the South knew that the North was at a large advantage because of their access to such a grand telegraphing network. Confederate troops often would raid communication centers and cut telegraphing cables in order to sever the Union's network. Additionally, of the 1,200 telegraph operators of the United States military service, over 175 were wounded or captured during the Civil War. Not only does this prove that the Confederacy attempted to destroy the North's communication system, but it also displays the dangers endured by those working with the telegraphs. Lincoln utilized telegraph stations regardless of the danger of their positions because the efficiency of what he could communicate with different generals was of a higher significance to him. He prioritized communication over vulnerability. The shown picture, taken at Wilcox Landing by City Point, depicts one of Ulysses S. Grant's military telegraph stations. The telegraph operators lived in harsh conditions, but Lincoln knew that they would be crucial to his victory. Some of the most famous battles fought in the Civil War have outcomes largely impacted by the Union's use of telegraphs. For example, during the battle at City Point, Virginia, Abraham Lincoln told Ulysses S. Grant via telegraph that he needed to keep a bulldog grip on the necks of the Confederates. As a result, Ulysses pressured the Southern troops, which ultimately led to a Union victory. Likewise, in another telegram from Lincoln to Grant, Lincoln tells Grant to try and hold off Confederate troops without the use of too many Union troops, as they cannot afford to lose any more soldiers.
In addition to being an effective means of communication, the Union-dominated telegraphs allowed the North to win over public opinion by influencing the media and newspapers. Oftentimes, Union newspapers would cite telegraphs as evidence to villainize the Confederacy. Around the time of the Civil War, the price of newspapers dropped dramatically. As a result, they became an even more valuable asset for the Union. The main reason that the South lacked an effective telegraph system was because of the fact that Lincoln's decision to invest in one was unprecedented and risky. However, as time soon told, Lincoln's decision propelled the Union ahead to a point that would take years for Confederates to catch up, ultimately making it impossible for them to establish a system of equal effectiveness. Additionally, because the telegraphs were backed by the government and the government mainly supported the Union, telegraphs had a predominantly northern bias. When newspapers would analyze these telegraphs, they often interpreted them by holding the Union in the right and the Confederacy in the wrong. Despite all the benefits for the North, some controversy stemmed from the Union's use of the telegraph, as political opponents of Lincoln argued that he violated the First Amendment by oppressing newspapers. Lincoln would often disallow newspapers to publish battle plans in order to prevent a Confederate advantage.
Without a doubt, the Union's use of the telegraph in the American Civil War aided in its victory over the Confederacy because it allowed for more efficient military organization and helped sway the media in the Union's favor. Lincoln's unprecedented use of this technology ultimately was worth his risky investment. Furthermore, the Union's use of the telegraph was used as a model by many countries that fought in both World War I and World War II. The telegraph has made an impact on far more than just war. Such an innovation revolutionized communication at the time and was a huge leap in technology. Although it has since been overshadowed by more modern means of communication, the telegraph will forever be an important piece of the history of the United States of America. Lincoln's use of the telegraph in the Civil War served as a model of efficient communication for years to come, and it continues to inspire more modern technology in the world of communication today.